Well, hello, Brandon. It's really good to see you and have you down here in Banff today. How are you?
I'm doing great, Robert. Thanks very much. It's great to be here in Banff. The sun's shining. It's such a lovely day. The seagulls, we can even hear them, so it's absolutely brilliant.
I'd love to say it was always like this in Banff, but it is a bonny day. Brandon, you're doing well as always. Life is extremely busy. What have you been up to recently?
Well, it's always musical. We've been touring around, we've been recording, and I think we've been from Shetland right to the bottom of England. We've been in Ireland, all around Scotland, and getting the music out there as much as possible, and of course enjoying it along the way.
Good, Brandon. Your career has been amazing. You're always travelling. You're always moving on with stuff, which is great in recording. So, by way of those audiences, Brandon, do you love the range of those audiences going around the country? Do you get the same feedback from Shetland to Ireland by way of your material?
I always want to be the best I can be, and I also want the show the best it can be. So the show changes every year. It's a new production every year. So, for example, the Brandon McPhee show, when we're touring it in Shetland, it's the same show. In England, it's the same show. In Ireland. And if there's songs that have, a bit more feedback than others, when we do the show the next year, we'll maybe include that song in a different part of the show as well. So always listening to the feedback, because of course that's what matters most. Yeah. And if people come to the show, support it, and come out there enjoying it, we've done our job right.
So, Brandon, how many years have you been entertaining now? Off the top of your head?
Well, I started when I was 10, so yeah. It's been 18 years now, so I'm 28.
Yeah, the real professional all the way. But you always had a flair for it. Do you feel comfortable as ever going onto the stage, Brandon, by way of your material, choosing stuff and all the rest of it? Is that, by way of age, has your material changed much?
Well, from an early age, it makes you think a lot more as I'm getting a bit older as well, because, it's always mattered to me, but it matters even more the older I get. Yeah. And the material, I've always preferred traditional music. I prefer the kind of stuff, your Johnny Cash, Jimmy Shand, Jim Reeves. This is the kind of things that someone could expect part of the show. So the material has been changing. I must know hundreds and hundreds of tunes and hundreds of songs since I started singing as well, which I think I was about 17 at the time then. So always learning new stuff, and I write a lot of my own stuff now too.
You, by way of being a performer myself, when I was your age, it was so easy to absorb stuff really quickly. The older you get, it's not so easy. So it's really good that you're challenging yourself to take that stuff in, to learn up lots of new stuff all the time. That must really help your repertoire.
Well, I think it does, and it's a little bit slower in learning material than it maybe was 10 years ago, but I still, thankfully I can still learn a lot. I mean, I'm an ear player, so I don't read sheet music or anything like that, so everything has to be rehearsed. And when you're learning new songs and learning new tunes, maybe with the accordion, it keeps that going, that you can still be able to pick up, a variety of music fairly easily.
But by way of it, I wonder if your audience out there knows that you're an ear player, because do you think that gives you more variety by way of what you want to do? Is it easier for you to absorb stuff being an ear player?
Well, it's something I never thought about. When I won the junior championships, I was 13, and I didn't even know what an A note was, because, I was taught with my granddad and then my uncle Daniel, wasn't taught these things. I had to go delving into music and delving into scales and theory and things, but never actually, learning the sheet music side of things. So the ear, I never missed the sheet music either, because I wanted everything to be rehearsed and the best it could be. And that's really what I've been doing all these years. And I just think it enables me to have an advantage as well, because if my sheet music falls off the stand, I'll still be able to play the tune.
I absolutely love that. Yeah. Brandon, by way of the genres of material that you're doing, you've got certain chunks of stuff that you're very famous for. So we could have a wee chat just about some of those bits of music that you like, and it would be lovely to hear some examples, because I'm always listening. You're very good at sending me down some of the stuff that you've been doing. I'm very privileged that I sometimes get to hear a cut before it comes out, and that's what comes with good friendship, and I'd really enjoy that. So by way of country music, what have you been doing recently? Give us an example of something.
Well, for example, we've recorded a CD, it's called Diversity, and it's a representation of the Brandon McPhee show, which is a variety of music. But as far as country music, my favourites are Johnny Cash. We performed some Jim Reeves, We performed Don Williams, Willie Nelson, some of what I class as the greats of country music. We recorded a song a while back, Hello Darling, by Conway Twitty. And the response on, say, social media and things has been absolutely brilliant. One of them was a Johnny Cash song, Give My Love to Rose. It reached over 1 million views. And then fortunate to record Ring of Fire, and it's on Diversity as well, but it was recorded by Music from Scotland on Facebook, and within no time, 1.6 million views. So who thought that an accordion singing and Johnny Cash would get that sort of viewing? So I was delighted and just enjoying it.
You're not unlike Johnny Cash sometimes. Brandon, but what inspires you to somebody like Johnny Cash, who was, such an amazing character? What a life.
Well, being an ear player, I'm always inspired by the sound and unique, individuality of this. Modern day, there's a lot of singers that may sound the same. Back then, Johnny Cash, Elvis, these guys had a sound. Jimmy Shand, they had an incredible sound, and that's the sounds that inspire me. Go back to the Sun recordings of Johnny Cash and Elvis. Sun Studios, I've had the privilege of seeing the Sun Studios, and I'm determined one day I'm going to record in there.
If you were going to sit down at home one night in Caithness, Brandon, and click on Johnny Cash, would you have a favourite that you would just go to?
I think it would be the Sun recording sessions. There's not much instruments in there. Johnny Cash and the Tennessee, there's not so much going on, but it's what they're playing. The arrangements, the simplicity of the arrangements, the words, it just really resonates and it matters. And it is matter to a lot of people as well. It does matter because, after all these years going back to the 50s, I think Johnny Cash's first hit was the 50s. It still matters today, and singers are still recording his music. I'm still singing his songs part of my shows. Every year the show does change, and I've got different Johnny Cash songs in there. I've got different Jim Reeves, different Conway. It all adds up, and there's so many songs out there. I wish I could sing them all. So,
if we were going to listen to a Brandon McPhee country song, what would you choose today?
I think I'll go with Hello Darling, because Hello Darling is that classic country by Conway Twitty, and I just love the song. And I think one of the things when I was learning to sing was I got tuition for a couple of years, and it was to expand my vocal range over several octaves. So it enabled me to go very high in some songs and very low in others. And this is one of those fun lower songs.
Okay. Where do you like to go by way of range? Do you like to go up there or do you like to go down there?
I like a bit of both.
Do you? Okay.
I think it gives the variety, and that's what I like. So I love lower songs, but I love the high ones too. And of course I love songs as well when I'm playing the accordion and singing, because you've got two loves in one piece of music and things, and it's great fun too.
Yeah, so that's amazing, Brandon. So if you had by way of a song that was going to give you a challenge to learn, to get into your head and then perform it, to record it and then go on live, would you have a choice?
Well, it takes quite a lot of time when you're trying to pick challenging songs, especially when you're going higher in the range. I think one of them would be a song that was a Eurovision entry. It was Pat McGeechan, and the song was called Chance of a Lifetime, and it took quite a long time to rehearse, and then we went into a recording studio and recorded it. But another one would be, for example, Learning How Great Thou Art. The range can be very, very low, and then all of a sudden it gets very high. And these are some of the songs that I found a challenge, but it's part of the show as well, and mix us in with some different varieties of songs and some tunes as well, and it all adds to the Brandon McPhee Show.
And there's nothing to beat a good challenge.
Well, I'm always trying to be better. I'm trying to be the best I can be and aim for a high level, because I suppose as well, if I keep doing the same thing year on, that I'm always trying to aim higher, and that's just a goal that I've always wanted and always done since I was such an early age. And
keeps you top of your game.
I'll keep trying.
So Brandon, over the years, your choice of songs and material has broadened out greatly, which I love to see, because I started singing just bothy ballads when I was a little loon, and some of my peers used to say, great to do the bothies, Robert, but you need to expand your repertoire. So you've done that greatly, because you sing lots of different styles, and it's lovely to hear you including some folk songs in there, Brandon. One of my favourites that you've recorded recently is the Ramblin' Rover. Where did you pick it up from?
Oh, well, I heard that with Siobhan Miller, you know. I think everyone has heard that. It's such a fun song. And of course, it was recorded by Silly Wizard, of course, written Andy M. Stewart. And, you know, it's one of those songs that adds to our show. And we include quite a few folk songs in there as well, which always proves very popular and it adds to the variety of it. But going back all those years ago, you know, I would listen to and do nothing that wasn't just accordion music. So I'm thankful now, all these years later, I've opened my mind up. I'm doing different styles, different songs, and, you know, it all adds to the show.
It's a bit of a tongue twister at times with Ramblin' Rover, especially that last verse and things. How do you cope with that, a tongue twister in a song, right way of tempo and timing?
Well, I suppose it's just rehearsal. You know, I have to do the rehearsal, and then at the same time, you know, when you listen to an artist as well, you have to try not to emulate the accent sometimes. Because, you know, Caithness and Glaswegian sometimes can be quite different.
Well, at least I can claim that two of my great friends are Siobhan Miller and Brandon McPhee. So how special in life is that for folk like me?
The thing is, you need to teach me a bothy ballad.
Oh, well, I'll easily teach you a Corncus and a bothy. That's a challenge. That's the next challenge.
That's a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. Brandon, Scottish music has always, and Scottish song has always been at the forefront of as so much of your other material. How big a part does that play? Where does the balance come in your act?
So the balance is pretty even. There's a lot of songs in there. There's country, folk, there's Scottish accordion. You know, the style of Jimmy Shan, Will Starr. You know, there's even some Cajun in there. I love Cajun music. It's such a happy, joyful music. Yeah. And there's a few hidden surprises. You know, there's even a few Frank Sinatra songs thrown in there, a bit of Elvis. So, you know, it is a variety show. And that's where the accordion fits in as well. And it all fits in part of the show to make a show that we can be proud of, and one that people would come out at the end of the night and say, you know, I loved that show, or, you know, that show passed really fast, which is always a good thing.
So is variety the key to that, Brandon?
I think it is. It's a diverse of the variety of the show, really, is the thing. And to get something in there, because it's not everybody, something I found, and probably one of the reasons I started singing too, it's not everyone that can listen to accordion music for 2 hours. You know, Simon Cowell couldn't. So you have to diversify the programme.
I could.
Me too. You have to diversify the programme, you know. And that's where it goes, you know.
I mean, it's funny because, you know, our country is full of beautiful theatres, yes, huge theatres that once were packed, and they were also packed with people putting on variety shows. I always feel it's an awful pity that that variety has sort of nearly come to an end in many respects. Look at all the great entertainers over the years. You know, most of them were variety entertainers, and sadly, that shows are not there anymore. Television's probably killed it over the years.
Unfortunately, you know, that shows isn't in existence anymore. But, you know, my heroes, you know, Jimmy Shan, Will Starr, you know, even Andy Stewart and the Alexander Brothers toured the world with these Scottish variety shows. And they were really, really popular because they made careers out of this worldwide. And after all these years later, you know, the public still know the songs, still know the names. You know, there's a lot of modern music coming out of Scotland at the moment, which has progressed on to a different kind of genre, Celtic. But, you know, the thing is, if not for the traditional music, there would be none of that.
Yes.
And I think, you know, the world would be a happier place and a better place if we had variety shows and touring around the venues with these shows as well. And a lot more, you know, there's so many incredible acts in Scotland, and we are so lucky to have the heritage of this, and I think, you know, we need to get back out there with this variety show.
Those are very wise words, Brandon, from a young performer like you, and I mean that most sincerely. It's really encouraging to hear you say that, because I think there still is a place for variety out there. And it's very interesting when you do it, or if I take part in a variety evening, it packs them in because you're covering so many angles, but at the same time they go away thinking, gosh, we missed that. We miss that variety. So it's lovely that you're doing variety and keeping lots of different styles in your music. It's really good. So on the accordion then, Brandon, you've had an amazing career in accordion, but principally because you play a 3-row button key, which you got those lessons and that encouragement from your grandfather, and your uncle, which is lovely. It's been a big part of your life playing the box. And Brandon McPhee out there today to audiences, etc., is known for being this champion of the 3-row button box, following on from names that you've mentioned like Sir Jimmy Shand and Will Starr, etc. I hope you feel quite proud that you're continuing to do that for that instrument and that music.
You know, I feel really proud to be from Scotland, and you know, I'm very thankful to my granddad as well. I mean, not many people can say, you know, their granddad inspired them, and he's, you know, probably my best friend as well. And we spend a lot of time talking about, you know, some of the greats. Even after all these years, it's still, you know, most of us, we've heard the conversation over and over, and we just keep talking about it because we are proud, and we're proud of the music. And certainly, you know, with the likes of Jimmy Shand and Will Starr, they've inspired me all the way. You know, if I could get, you know, if I could do what they've done, you know, or even half of what they've done in their lives, especially, I mean, Jimmy toured the world. You know, he sold out the Sydney Opera House, you know, the Massey Hall in Toronto, you know, the Carnegie Hall. You know, it's incredible. And I think as well, you know, something that maybe media forgets after all this time, maybe they don't, maybe they still remember, there's been no other accordionist to ever do that. Yeah. You know, he is the most famous accordionist ever, and that's what inspires me, because it is possible to have a 3-row button box accordion selling out venues all around the world, playing Scottish traditional music. I've always thrived to be, you know, the best I could be with the accordion. I wanted to keep aiming for higher levels, as I mentioned earlier. But, you know, not forgetting, you know, the style, and not forgetting the influences that I've had, and even writing new tunes and things. You know, you still have the style of Shand. Yeah. And you know, Jimmy was born in 1908. I was born in 1996, you know, and still, you know, still inspiring many. Yeah. And I think, you know, playing the button key accordion, I'm really glad that I do.
Yeah. I think looking back, you know, I'm older than you, obviously. It's great to see you playing, but I wish I met Sir Jimmy on 2 short occasions. And I remember I was quite young when I met him the first time in Achtermuchty at the folk festival. He was handing over the prizes. And he was a lot taller than I expected him by way of watching him, but I can still see this very slim man and going up to him to get my certificate and things from this one of my heroes, etc. And I didn't know Will, but you know, I used to watch him on television when I was quite small. But you always wish you can turn back the clock a little bit, as is in that song about Will Starr, etc. Mm-hmm. And when I think about those lads, and when I see you playing, Brandon, I wished that they could have heard you playing by way of it, because you know, to see instrumentation and musicality being transported down to another generation and being able to play it at that level is very, very special. So I hope you should know how incredibly special you are, Brandon, in keeping those traditions going, because we're all immensely proud of what you do. And I know those lads, Sir Jimmy Shand and Will Starr, would have absolutely adored what you do in music.
Oh, thank you, Lovie. Thank you.
Brandon, you had I know you collect accordions. I'm a bit of a collector when it comes to certain things in life. But I know you collect too. I know. Gets under the skin.
You know, AA. It's accordion addiction. you know,
that's a new one. That's fantastic. I like that.
You know, it's serious. But you know, when I was 10, all I ever wanted was a Shan Reno. Yeah. And I was doing some shows. I was cutting grass, different things to raise money for my very first Shan Reno. And you know what I did when I got it? Started saving for my second. You know, all these years later, I've amassed a collection that I'm proud to have, and you know, I have worked really hard to have it. You know, I've put so much back into getting, you know, so much getting these accordions and things, because they really do matter. It's music to me matters most in life. And you know, I've been very lucky. I've managed to acquire Will Starr's, you know, Honor Shan Reno. It's the one you've seen with the four, but it's a button accordion. It's 3 rows, but there's a special roll stuck on with super glue. You know, what a tale this must have. You know, it was made in 1957. Okay. And I think I got it in 2017. Okay. Still playing, still sounds great. You know. Needs the odd TLC now and again, you know, but you know, gets repaired and things.
When you strap on Will's box, or and I know we're going to speak in a minute about your recent purchase of another very special accordion. When you strap on those boxes that you've saved for, and you're going on to big stages, theatres full of folk and all the rest of it, and you strap them on and you stand up with their accordions on, what do you feel?
Well, when I have Will Starr's one, it takes me all I can do not to kick my leg back. No, but I really do. I really do feel proud, because I've spent a lot of time in rehearsals, a lot of time with advertising and learning new tunes and touring around, and I put everything back into getting these instruments because it's my life. And to be able to go up there on stage in some of the same venues that Shand and Starr have performed in, playing the same tunes on the same buttons as they once pressed, it's very big shoes.
Yeah.
And I'll keep trying and trying until I get to fit into them.
But never forget, there's a simple word that carries the whole thing: tradition.
That's one of the things, and that's where we are very lucky here in Scotland.
Wonderful. So this recent purchase that you've done of another special accordion, Brandon. So I got a lovely message from you just recently with a picture, and you've got a very infectious smile anyway, Brandon, which is great. But I think this is the biggest and happiest smile I ever saw on Brandon McPhee's face recently. Tell us about the purchase of this recent accordion that you've done.
So it was Jimmy Shand's accordion, and it's called a Honer Shand Gola. It was made in 1964. Jimmy got it in 1966. It's the only one in the world. It's a button accordion. It's got an incredible sound. It looks amazing. It's one of a kind.
Yes.
And as a young boy, I remember looking at the records with Jimmy. Jimmy had it strapped on in records. And going back to that time, I used to hear a lot of things. I still do, in fact, from musicians and I suppose public as well, that seem to know every bit of information that ever was regarding the word Shand. And one of the things was, Jimmy didn't like that accordion. He never played that accordion. And, at the time, not knowing any better. But with getting this recent purchase, I did some, delving into history and realised that Jimmy recorded with his accordion. He did many photo shoots. He had many people at his house with family photographs. I've even got a video of him playing the accordion, saying it's such a great accordion. At the moment, I've got it to get some tuning done on it. It's been sitting around, for a long, long time, not played since Jimmy Shand. And, John Douglas Accordions in Dumfries is who tune all my accordions.
He's an amazing gentleman.
He's incredible.
Yeah.
And, he says, listen, this accordion has been played a lot over the years. And I said, yes. I says, Jimmy, he says, it's had some repairs done to over its lifetime, which it does.
Mm-hmm.
Any car would, for that matter. I mean, it's 1960s and we're now all these years on. He says, it's been played a lot. So that ruled out the rumour of he didn't like the accordion. And when I got looking into history again, he got the accordion in 66. There's an interview of him telling different people he sold his accordions. That accordion he had the longest, because it was right up until his death he had it, which was then passed down to Jimmy Jr.
Yes.
And then Simon Howie. And I've got the accordion now. I'm so honoured and
it's
delighted.
Still
to
bringing
have
a
it.
smile to your face when you said, I've got that accordion now. I think that's lovely. But it's great that you have that accordion now, because the wonderful thing is, Brandon, that you can put that accordion on and you can play it. You're a Scottish champion anyway, but you can not only play it to that level, but you can entertain audiences with that instrument that Jimmy Shand was filling theatres with around the world. So again, it's moving down the tradition, keeps on going, and that is really special. I hope every time you strap it on that you tell everybody how special that instrument is. It's a one of a kind, isn't it?
There's only one in the world, and to have this instrument, and it belongs, it's with me in Caithness,
Yes.
and because of my accordion addiction, I've got a big collection. But of course, when you have a lot of accordions, you have to go through a rota as well about how many times you play them. So I've got them spread out with different family and friends and things. And my granddad's got a few as well, and they're all being played. And I play them as much as I can as well when when we're not touring and things as well.
I love it's a beautiful instrument as well by way of its size and shape. But you're obviously having the studded shand down the front of it. Audiences must see that as well. So do you take a bit of pride in saying about the accordion when you're on?
Well, there was a special day a few weeks ago. We've been touring a new show. This is 25 years since Sir Jimmy Shand's passing. And we've been touring a new show called Jimmy Shand Tribute Show. So it's some of the tunes that he wrote, some of the tunes he made famous. There's quite a few songs in there too, you know, about Jimmy Shand and songs that was relevant to the great man's career as well throughout the White Heather Club and things and different variety shows. And I think I'm right in saying I played the Honorgola on stage for several numbers before I had the honour of purchasing it, and that was thanks to Simon. You know, Simon didn't need to do this. He said, you know, you want a shot of this Honorgola? And I was like, oh, you know, and I did. And I was thinking as I was playing it, the accordion has never been owned by a button key player since Jimmy.
Yes.
And I was thinking, you know, that's never been played on stage in what would have been long more than 25 years, because of course Jimmy retired many years prior. Also, he did play the accordion, but you know, and to play that accordion on the stage, it was in Perth, and you know, it was such an amazing feeling.
Yes.
And it was a Jimmy Shand melody, Jimmy Shand accordion, Jimmy Shand fans in the audience as well.
Yes.
It was magical.
Yeah, that's wonderful to hear you say that, Brandon, and enjoy that, because I know how long it's taken you to collect by way of getting that one-off accordion. So enjoy it. I hope your audiences enjoy it. We recorded that Shand song, Jimmy Shand the Legend, that the Alexander brothers recorded a few years ago about Jimmy. But it was your arrangement of it, and it's a wee bit livelier than Tom and Jack's version and things. It was lovely to record it with you, and you're always great fun to sing with. But it's to sing that song and to remember somebody like Jimmy is incredibly special. So it was a joy to record that song with you. Jimmy Shand is an absolute legend.
Well, it was an honour to record the song with you, Robert. So, you know, we've had great fun. We've been in the recording studio. You've recorded a new CD.
Yes.
I've recorded a new CD, Jimmy Shand Tribute CD. The song is on the CD.
Yes.
And, you know, Tom and Jack were Scottish legends as well. You know, always will be.
Yes.
So the thing I'm trying to work out with the video is which one of us is going to be Tom and which one's going to be Jack.
Oh well, you're definitely Tom, because you can play the accordion, and I'm just maybe a fraction taller, I think, and so I would definitely be Jack out there.
Can you sing in a Glaswegian accent?
Sadly, I cannot do that. But they are legends indeed. Well, Brandon, it's been great to see you. Look after yourself, but keep on doing all the wonderful things that you do by way of filling theatres, keeping up your great singing and your accordion playing, and entertaining audiences to the very best of style that you're an ultimate professional at. So look after yourself and keep on going.
Thank you so much, Robert, and thanks for inviting me down to lovely Banff. It's been lovely hearing the seagulls.
All the best, Brandon.
Thank you.